Hi there, Julian. Great to have you here with us today to discuss your project proposal for the Inclusive Design Challenge. Could you just introduce yourself a little bit, where you're from, and tell us about you?
I'm Julian Brinkley, an assistant professor of human-centered computing here at Clemson University. I am the lab director for the design and research of in-vehicle experiences lab, located on the automotive engineering campus of Clemson, located in Greenville, South Carolina.
Wonderful. And could you just briefly describe for us your project, the accessibility challenge it's intended to address, and how it works?
Okay, yeah, wonderful. So to describe our project, the goal for what we designed is to address the specific needs of visually impaired autonomous vehicle users and older adults specifically. So we've been doing research in this area, or I've been doing research in this area with my team for about 4 years at this point, roughly. So we've been involved in a lot of research activities that have been supported by many community partners in the disability community, to include the Florida Center for the Blind, the National Federation of the Blind, the American Council of the Blind, and other organizations. So we've identified some challenges in our research activities that blind and low vision autonomous vehicle users may face. And the goal of the Atlas 2 system, which is our submission for the Inclusive Design Challenge, is to address those specific needs.
Hello, I'm Atlas. I am here to help you with anything that you need while using this vehicle. With my help you can control most vehicle systems using just your voice. Let's review the basics. I can also park myself and will provide you with instructions on how to summon me when you are ready to leave. Those are the basics. I will provide additional tips and information as you begin to use the system. If you think you understand the basics, after the beep say, "I understand." If you would like me to repeat the instructions, after the beep say, "Repeat."
I understand.
Okay, I will stand by for further instructions.
I think you touched on this a little bit, but how did you get interested and involved in accessibility technology generally, or for this project?
I have been involved in research focused on assistive technologies and making technology broadly accessible and usable by and for users with disabilities since I was in graduate school. So since I was working on my master's degree. The genesis of that interest, I would say, is just my own recognition. I have family members who have disabilities. I have two and a third child, two children and a third child on the way. And the idea that technologies, if my children did have a disability, that technologies that could dramatically improve their lives really aren't being worked on necessarily, because people are just focused on, other topics that seem, if you're just taking a superficial view, to be more interesting. So, I feel like it's an area where not enough emphasis is really given. It's an area that has really attracted me to put in the hard work to try to develop technologies that are accessible and usable for persons with a variety of different disabilities.
That's great. And I think you mentioned it a little bit before, but some of the different partnerships and groups you've worked with. So how have you engaged with the disability community during the conception of this project, and how has that input shaped what you guys are developing?
I'm a firm believer in inclusive design and user-centered design. All too often, technologies are designed for persons with disabilities without necessarily directly considering their input and their specific desires with many of these technologies. So early on, we made a decision as part of this project to try to get as much community and stakeholder involvement in what we're doing as humanly possible. So we've engaged with a variety of different organizations to provide input on what we're doing, both in terms of trying to understand the needs of persons with disabilities, specifically in the use of an autonomous vehicle, and in trying to come up with design concepts, which we hope to ultimately turn into working prototypes.
That's great. And so you mentioned that this is the second stage of a project you guys have already been working on and developing. So I'm curious what your ultimate goal is for the project. What impact are you hoping to have with your proposal?
So our ultimate goal and ultimate desire for impact is to develop really some design guidance that we can share with manufacturers, to really guide them in the design and development of accessible autonomous vehicles. So obviously, we're university researchers, our team, which consists of faculty here in the Human-Centered Computing Division and faculty in automotive engineering. While our automotive engineering faculty do have experience really building vehicles from components. We have a project here called Deep Orange that really builds, you don't want to say necessarily from scratch, but it basically builds from the ground up a vehicle. So we do have some expertise in that regard, but obviously we're not a manufacturer. So our goal is really to develop something, design and develop something that we can then release to the industrial community to provide guidance on how to make autonomous vehicles accessible.
That's fantastic. And then kind of one more question. I'm curious what your broader vision is for AVs and their societal impact. How does your work for this project fit into that bigger vision?
Transportation and personal mobility really have a significant impact on the lives of many persons with disabilities, affecting things like where you're able to live, who you socialize with, where you even, go to shop and eat, things like that. So potentially properly conceived and properly implemented, the autonomous vehicle may do a lot to really directly improve the lives of many end users with disabilities who face challenges with personal mobility with conventional motor vehicle technologies.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us, and congratulations again for being chosen as a semifinalist. And we look forward to hearing more from you and your team.
Thank you very much.